All right, so I figured maybe making a video would probably be the simplest way to explain it, but it is going to be a phone video, so I apologize. And I just woke up, so my voice is going to sound like this. But basically, you have these 4 buckets. They each multiply against each other, but within the bucket, they're additive. So you have strength. If you add more strength, it'll just keep going in this bucket. And the total amount of strength that you get then multiplies these other ones. So any amount of strength that you get on your gear is going to be interchangeable. Most of these are just the same stats. So crit damage, and I have horrible handwriting, by the way, apologize. Crit damage, you know, you can add more crit damage. Eventually you're going to get the total amount of crit damage, and then they'll end up multiplying each other. But any amount of crit damage you get is going to be additive within itself, right? So 20%, 20%, 20%, it'll be 60% instead of 20% times 20% times 20%. The multiplication only happens between the buckets. And then the same thing with vulnerable. It'll just keep adding with itself, yada yada. Total amount of vulnerable. So now you have strength, crit, vulnerable. They all multiply each other, become stronger. And then you got the slop bucket. And this thing is literally like everything else. Core skill, basic skill, damage to close, damage to distant, damage while berserking. I mean, there's so many stats to list here. But basically, any one of these is going to be interchangeable. If you subtract berserking 40% or whatever, and you add 40% core skill, it's the same thing, because at the end of the day, this all just gets added together into the slop. That's terribly written, I apologize. Into the slop, and then the slop gets multiplied by all these, right? So, what it comes down to basically is most affixes will probably fall in here because it's literally like everything other than these stats. If you can get something on your gear that increases your damage by a percentage, it's probably in here. So essentially it just means that these all, you know, 20% core skill is the same thing as 20% basic skill. I mean, obviously you have to be using a basic skill or a core skill to get the damage bonus, but I guess a better one would be, like we talked about, core skill and berserking. 40% core skill damage is the same thing as 40% berserking damage, but berserking damage requires you to be berserking, whereas the core skill damage, you just need to be using a core skill.